Come on, Kirby.
Maybe, maybe not.
Kirby.
What's the name of my document?
That's how I
Alex
do
and
the word
Simon.
associations.
Yellow.
Yellow?
Oh,
And-
there it is.
Good evening. Being that it is 7 o'clock on December 16th, I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order, and I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
And for the clerk.
Whoa. We're here now.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Wow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're kind of crowded over there. Would you have-
Really shook things up.
We're gonna get letters.
Yeah.
Gonna get a hole in the roof. Watch it, Jimmy.
Oh,
Watch it.
Can you imagine if you took out the brand new TV?
This is all on TV, too. Has to be done.
Thank you.
All right.
We have the video.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right. All right, so the agenda for tonight, we'll start with Keith Bergman presenting the mail. We will have public input and then member updates, followed by at 7:15, we have a couple of annual license renewals. At 7:30, we have some requests from the Housing Authority and the Conservation Land donation from PW Realty Trust. And at 7:45, we're going to review the capital improvements plan. At 6 o'clock, we have the town administrator and assistant town administrator for finance and budget. Followed by that, we have some rules and regulations from the Board of Selectmen and our goals that we may get to review. And after that, at 9:30, we're scheduled for other business, the consent agenda and the minutes approval. With that, Keith.
Mr. Chairman, a few items in the mail. First is the official notice that we received from the Department of Revenue approving the property tax rates for FY 2014, and they do reflect the policy determinations that the selectmen have made at the tax rate classification hearing. So with that timely approval of the tax rate, we'll be able to have timely mailing of the third quarter property tax bills just in time for Christmas. So, next we have an invitation sent to us by the superintendent of schools to the 2013 Littleton High School Football and Cheer Awards Ceremony on Sunday, January 5th at 2 p.m. at the high school auditorium. Next, we received officially the notice from the state that we did not get the state grant, the land grant for the Church Meadows property. We had applied for $240,000 towards the the $415,000 purchase price. Later tonight, we'll be voting to take the actions necessary to go through with the closing on that property this Thursday as we had agreed. But we also got, at the request of the Agricultural Commission, we received the score that our application received, so we're going to be going through that and seeing maybe why it didn't score as well in some categories and what we might be able to do to better position ourselves the next time.
Are you able to see the other applicants that were actually awarded the grants?
Well, sure. Yeah, I don't know that they've announced them yet,
Okay.
but we'll be able to see who did get funded above us. I think we were like we were three below, three applications below where the funding level ended up being. If there had been more money, they could have gone further down the list.
Gotcha.
But there may be some things that we can do to better position ourselves the next time. So we're going to take a look at that. Next, we have a letter that was sent from the Mass State Lottery Commission, just notifying us that the lottery is offering existing non-pouring agents of they're offering their Keno to Go game. And I've copied this to the police department if they have any comments, but that the lottery will be extending an application to Littleton Liquors at 320 Great Road, which would meet their qualifications. Next, we have from the planning board a notice of the public hearing that will be held on Thursday, January 9th, 2014, on a definitive subdivision plan for Farmers Row Estates, which is for the Fletcher property. As it happens, we're going to be at that meeting anyway, because the January 9th is the date that we agreed with planning for a joint meeting to discuss the medical marijuana zoning bylaw at the planning board meeting. So if we have any comments on that plan, we can be discussing them also that same night.
So that hasn't been posted anyway. I mean, these scenic vistas that everybody keeps talking about are pretty much gone with this subdivision plan, but it's zoned housing.
It is. So that, that public hearing notice, we have a copy of. I think it's being published in the newspaper in the next week or so. And copies of the plan are available at the town website as well.
And can you tell from the paperwork submitted if this is a less than 10-acre parcel?
If it's a less than 10 acre parcel.
I looked at it, but couldn't determine that from the... And I asked because I know that if it's 10 acres or more, there's the requirement to submit an open space plan as well?
Yes, and this is an open space.
This is?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's a definitive subdivision plan and a special permit for an open space development.
Okay,
But, yeah, both to be
Oh,
known
I'm
as
sorry, I
Farmers
see that
Row.
now.
Yeah.
thank you.
So, let's see, next is information about, is an update from me, actually, with some supporting documents. The report that the Zoning Board of Appeals opened its hearing on the 15 Great Road 40B proposed changes from the applicant. That hearing was open last Thursday night, December 12th. It's being continued to this Thursday night, December 19th, in this room at 7:30. And in the meantime, tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, Tuesday afternoon at 1:30, the ZBA's draft decision subcommittee will meet to review a draft document of what amendments to the decision, to their prior decision, would need to be made in order to grant this request as made. The hearing continues. There was not that much input from the public at the hearing last week. There were a number of questions from ZBA members about, particularly about the three large buildings, which are just, see how the technology works here. Which are shown here, these three buildings, 1, 2, and 3, which would be 4 stories with elevators. The proposal is that instead of 190 rental units, it would be a total of 200 units, of which 144 would be rental. That is, each of these three 48-unit buildings would be rentals. The remaining 56 detached single-family homes would be owner-occupied, and of those, 25% would be affordable. So at the end of the day, we could continue. At the end of the day, it complies with the host community agreement that the Selectmen signed last February, which requires a minimum of 100 countable units on the subsidized housing inventory. It would, in fact, be these 144 rentals, which all count because they're rental, plus the 25% of the 56 owner-occupied, which would be affordable. So it would be, so we'd have over 150 units that would continue to count.
And what was the original number? I can't remember what the original number's based on, all rental units. I guess I can go to the public hearing.
Yeah, it was,
It's
I think I may
like
be able
making
to
out
call
this,
up,
you know, taking the-
yeah, I may be able to call up
All
the,
these houses going up right now is crazy.
let's see, that was the change in the count.
Big numbers game.
Yeah, I think that this summary show, it was all rentals before,
Right.
190 rentals, and the breakdown is as shown here with 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. So the total number of units goes up by 10.
Yeah.
The total number of bedrooms, that should be a negative number in the presentation, actually goes down by 6, because the number of 2 bedrooms is the same at 78. The number of 1 bedrooms goes up by 18. The number of 3 bedrooms goes down by 8 units.
And I guess the, going for a for sale and that 25% affordable, as a rental, all those units would have counted towards our
All 100.
40B.
Yeah, all
So-
190 would count. That's
So,
right.
you know, with these houses that we see going up a lot, there's a lot of new construction, and they have till February 14th, I believe, to pull a permit.
It's the 21st.
So we just saw in our package a subdivision for the Fletchers, and, you know, we go below that 10%, that can turn into a 40B real quick. So that's what really concerns me, and I think folks should know that that's a reality that could happen, you know? So, show up to this public hearing.
Yeah, here's where this configuration would bring us, right now, we're at 13.97%. If building permits were not, if no building permits were pulled for 15 Great Road by February 21st, we'd fall back to 8.45%. If the developer's proposal is approved, then we'd have, not that, it's not our expectation that all those building permits would get pulled all at once, but, by the way, but when they ultimately were, it would bring us to 13.4%.
Even with the new configuration of the for sale?
Yes.
It still brings us to 13.4?
Yeah.
04.
So
1304.
the developer has made the statement that if he gets, if with the approval, that he would be prepared to pull building permits on 2 of the 3 4-story buildings, which would be 96 units. That's more than enough, well, it doesn't reach the 100 threshold yet, it's more than enough to keep us above 10%, because if we fall below, if we go back to, if we go from 481 units down to 291, we need 54 to bring us up to 10%. So 96 does that. In any event, that hearing,
Sounds like some arm twisting going on here with that, boy.
that hearing continues on Thursday night. And I think that was it.
All right. All right, now open the floor up for public input. Right. Oh, all right. We can go to board member updates. I'm going to switch it up this time and go right to Jim. Start down this end. He looks excited.
Wow, well, thank you, Mr. Chair, wow. I know, it's unbelievable. I have my, the brand new, hot off the presses championship T-shirt on.
What's on the back?
On the back is the season and all the
Okay.
scores.
Okay.
They're still available, so since our last meeting, we had 2 really good events happen, I think, for the town of Littleton. One, Monday night, we unanimously voted to have Deputy Chief King be considered and interviewed for the chief. I think that's great for the town. Then Saturday, I was fortunate enough to be at Gillette Stadium on the field with the team and see a fantastic football game. And the Tigers go 13-0, the first time ever in Littleton history that they went 13-0. They've had undefeated seasons before, but not 13 wins. The first Super Bowl win and the first ever state championship game for football in the state of Massachusetts. And this is the first year MIAA has changed all the rules. So it was a great day, great parade afterwards. The shirt that I'm wearing is sponsored by the Littleton Athletic Boosters Association, and you can still order them. You can go to their Facebook page, or you can send an email to tigermerch@verizon.net. So it was really cool. It was exciting to be there. I was coaching for the 08 and 09 Super Bowl tries that we did, but this was a really exciting time. So that was a great week. As far as the deputy chief, on Tuesday, now to switch gears here, folks, I was kind of disappointed to see the Wednesday Lowell Sun with the front page saying PD chief process blasted. It's kind of disheartening that the Lowell Sun would put something like that in the front page when we had great discussion here. You know, the board voted unanimously to approve it. Again, it was disappointing to see that headline. I think the Littleton Independent did a fantastic job. It was just disappointing to see that. And then on Sunday, to see in the column of the Lowell Sun, Littleton Selectman Alex McCurdy says, doesn't get I gotta put these on, I'm sorry. Says, he doesn't get easily intimidated, but as people packed the Selectmen's meeting on Monday night, McCurdy says he felt pressured to do what he believes the crowd wanted him to do, the board wanted him to do. That's a little disappointing also. I think that it wasn't, the crowd and the folks here to support Deputy King was heartfelt. It was from a community that really got behind the deputy and said, you know what, you don't have to waste any town resources because it all's going to come back to this guy. And I think the board said that by all our comments. The comments that reflected negative on the process was just disheartening to me. But that week, starting Monday, when we did that, this board took a stand. It was fantastic. And then on Saturday, the football game, couldn't ask for a better week than that, I think. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Jenna?
I have nothing, thank you.
You have nothing? Okay. Well, we'll just keep going in this order. I'll echo yours. Alex, I was disappointed that you came out and said that you didn't vote the way you wanted to. And I think in a conversation, you said the same thing to me, that you felt that, you voted the way the room wanted you to, and there was no political gain for you to vote the way that you really felt you wanted to. And between that and the Sun, I was just disappointed. But on a more positive note, for the first time, I finally made it to a production of any type of production in the little schools for a play, and I was able to see Shrek the musical, and it was fantastic. I was just blown away with the amount of talent that we have here in town. Joe, do you have anything?
I just quickly want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and great holidays for everyone. Do want to point out, I wish I had brought it, the 300th committee still has Christmas ornament shaped like an apple. It has a sticker on it with the emblem right on it. They still have them available. You can contact me or my wife Kathy or Jack Homer about I think there's probably 100 of those left.
They're all on your tree at home?
I'm normally carrying a bag around with me.
Yeah.
No, so once again, great holidays to everybody.
All right, thanks. Alex?
Well, obviously, I was put in a position where I probably ought to respond. However, I think that this may not be the appropriate forum for it as far as public input. But the great thing about this nation is it's a democracy, and we are allowed to disagree. And my comments in the paper showed a reflection of what I thought after I left the meeting. I think that we did not, I think we probably picked a very good police chief, but I think we did not follow the process we should have followed. And what was happening in the room last Monday night was a popularity contest for Deputy Chief, soon-to-be Chief King. I couldn't agree more. He's a good man. He'll be a good chief and all that. But our responsibility up here goes higher. We haven't looked at anything. We haven't discussed it. We hadn't even voted to accept the succession plan. And all of a sudden, the room fills full of people that had one intention, and one intention only, was to support the selection of Deputy King to be the chief. That was not the issue. The issue was the process that this board used to get there. If the succession plan was all that it was stated to be, if we waited 3 weeks, the department will not fall apart because we have a great man who's number 2 in charge of the department. I don't think we should have been involved in a popularity contest. I think we should have done due process, and that's going to be what my feeling about it is.
So do you feel you voted the way you wanted to, or did you not vote the way you wanted to?
I
just
felt
curious.
that when I took my vote, I felt a great deal of pressure, and I came to the realization that my vote was not going to make a difference in the outcome. And when I walked out of this room, I did not feel good about what I did. So when the paper called me and said, what's going on with that meeting, then I did an interview.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move up to annual license renewals. We have a few here. Jen or Keith, do you have anything to add to this? It's,
Last week you
pretty
did the liquor licenses, and these are all the remaining licenses which are presented for your approval.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. There's a handwritten notation on the memo from Rebecca Quinn. It's the very last page. It says over 3 years PP. Does anyone know
Personal
what,
property taxes.
what does that mean?
Owes 3 years,
Yep,
owes 3
owes
years
it.
personal property. Is that,
What does that mean, though?
they haven't paid the
Property
person?
taxes.
Oh, she hasn't paid her personal property?
That's, yeah.
Or did that change hands, though? I thought that changed
Personal is
hands.
their house.
What's that?
Personal is their house.
Oh, personal, yes. Oh,
But what, importantly, from the board standpoint, though, the collector has certified that none of these applicants are delinquent. None of the
Business.
corporate applicants are delinquent, and therefore you can approve them. So-
Okay, so the PP is not the commercial, industrial, personal property tax, which is levied on some businesses based on the stuff at their business? Or is this real estate? I guess I'm confused. Does this relate to the business, or is
I
this?
can't tell from that handwritten note what that means.
so is that Becky's note?
But as the tax collector, she certified that the above list are not delinquent,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Ready? I'll get it.
Sure,
I got it.
you do it.
I'll do
You
it.
can only
Shouldn't
be
have-
all the long ones.
Probably shouldn't have been
Like
there.
that
I
one.
know, there
The
were
note
a
shouldn't
couple
have
big
been
ones
there?
in
I
there.
know.
Right, right.
Didn't have to do with the businesses, shouldn't have been
Yeah,
there.
right.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the annual renewal of licenses for common vehiculars, automatic amusement devices, entertainment, and lodging house licenses for calendar 2014. The list of said licenses to be made part hereof. And the list is attached and will be able to be viewed online, Keith?
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, I didn't upload it tonight.
Been motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7:30, moving on to Housing Authority vacancy. And this is to fill something that was done at the May 2014 town election. So this is a formality
Well,
or finalizing process?
You have a vacancy on the Housing Authority which resulted from the recent, a recent resignation. And under the law, the vacancy on the Housing Authority is filled, or can be filled, by appointment of a registered voter to fill that vacancy until the next annual town election. You also have the option of calling a special election. I would not even, please don't even consider that, to fill a vacancy on the Housing Authority. But the procedure is, and it's sort of convoluted, but we've known of this vacancy for over a month. However, the board on which the vacancy occurs had a month to notify us, and if they did so in time, which they did, then that board gets to join the selectmen in making a joint appointment to fill the vacancy. So we worked out the timetable, and our procedure calls for the vacancy being posted for a month. And so what we're prepared to do is to schedule a joint meeting of the Housing Authority Board and the Board of Selectmen for January 27th, your second meeting in next month. We would advertise and invite applications between now and then, and your two boards would jointly interview any applicants that we get. So that allows us to fill the vacancy.
Okay.
Okay, move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 11, to receive the notice thereunder given by the remaining members of the Littleton Housing Authority of the vacancy on said board created by the resignation of member Teresa Schultz, effective November 6, 2013. And further to give notice to said remaining members that the Board of Selectmen shall convene a joint meeting with the intent to fill said vacancy through the May 2014 annual town election by joint appointment, to be made on Monday, January 27th, 2014, at 7:15 p.m., and further to invite qualified registered voters of the town of Littleton to apply for said appointment and to be interviewed at said joint meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Now we have a conservation land, accept gift from the PW Realty Trust.
Yeah, we sometimes get these towards the end of the calendar year, and we're grateful for the donation. This happens to involve two parcels of land on Harvard Road. And I don't have the map to put up on the big screen, but you've got a copy of the plan, and it is Lot 1 and Lot A. Lot 1 is this one,
All right.
here, Lot A is that one. So it continues over on that portion. The Conservation Commission is voting tonight to accept the deed, and under the statute, you have to vote to approve their acceptance. This is your last meeting in this calendar year, and we wanted to have the authorizing votes in place in order to allow the...
Point of order, who
Yeah.
goes first?
Well, they're
Does it
doing
matter,
it-
or do we need to
Well,
wait 5 minutes for their vote and say, okay, they agreed to agree, or?
yeah, I talked with Pete Tierney about this on Friday, and I know that, and with Heather earlier, I know that they are voting on the matter tonight. And if you want to make it contingent on their vote, they are voting that your approval is required, and I would not want to have to call you back before January 1st to take another vote, so we just wanted to get them both on record tonight.
Okay. Mr. MacGyver, just before you speak, I think the last meeting that you were, last selectmen's meeting that you attended, it was a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and I think you acted very disrespectfully to a couple members of the board in the parking lot after the meeting, and I believe that you owe those members in this board, and basically the town, an apology for the way that you, as a member of a board, acted toward another board and didn't live up to the example that this board sets.
Is this an attack meeting?
Is it what?
Is this an attack meeting? This is something that's very good that's happening. I mean, why aren't we, with the spirit of community, Yeah, I'm just sort of surprised.
It is a spirit of community to put some bad blood between us, because I was very appalled at your behavior, the way you acted when I walked out and the way I saw you acting and treating other town officials in the parking lot. So I was just requesting that you acknowledge it, or, you know, I would think you would want to make an apology for the way that you acted.
I'm in favor of democracy.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, excuse me, you're coming out with an attack.
No, it's not an attack.
Yes,
It's
you
n-
are.
I am pointing out something that happened that I feel that needs to be rectified, because this board and I have been working very hard to set the example, and I've said several times that all boards should act respectfully, and this board has been doing an outstanding job of it. And when I saw that, I just didn't think it lived up to our standards. And I think maybe reflecting back on it, yeah, you may feel that way too, and I'm just giving you the opportunity to put it behind us and to clear the air.
I think this is an intimidation tactic by you.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. Is there anything further?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
did you speak with Mr. McIver before this meeting
No?
about this?
No.
I would think that a matter of courtesy and respect to have caused a phone call where you would have said, I was disappointed with what you did, and I'd like to come to some agreement, and then this conversation in front of the board is perfectly appropriate.
Okay, that's another way of handling it, and if you were, then maybe that's the way you would handle it, that's fine. But that was I haven't seen him since then, and I wanted to bring it up, so.
And I thought I was being recognized to comment on this.
Well, I don't know, I mean, shouldn't we clear the air first? I just think, you know, if you're not going to treat this board with respect, you know, should you be allowed to, you know, talk to this board during a meeting?
This is a democracy. Get with it.
It is a democracy, and I don't know what you mean by get with it, but I'm just asking if you wanted to apologize.
I want to be able to talk to the issue that was at hand, which is why I raised my hand.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't think if you can treat the board respectfully outside here, I don't know if you should be able to discuss something.
I think that's out of order,
So-
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I gotta tell you, he came up to me after that last meeting, too. I was less, less to listen to his nonsense than, and his try to intimidate than Mr. Knox was. And I just left. I rolled up my window and drove away, because I wasn't gonna stand for that, so.
So,
This probably isn't the proper place to talk about it, in all honesty. What happened was unfortunate. I don't think anyone has ever spoken to me in that manner, never mind being another public servant. But, I mean, right now, in this forum is probably not the time to talk about it. I disagree with what happened intensely, but I'm leaving it at that. I'm good.
okay, if the people who were attacked that way or in the parking lot are okay to move on, then we can move on. So, Mr. McIver, would you like to offer up anything on the matter at hand or anything else?
Yes, and I think what you're getting at is I sat here for 2.5 hours, raised my hand to be recognized. You chose the other public person in the room to speak and ignored me. And it was sort of cherry picking who gets to speak. That was my reaction, that here is a board sitting here. If there is a public meeting and, you know, people should be treated fairly. That was my interest.
So that was something you could have brought to my attention in a much more manner. You didn't even speak to me about it. You went after these two people in a very disrespectful way, rather than even coming to me when it was my call. And I believe at that meeting, it wasn't another member of the public. I believe we were talking to people who were directly involved in the matter at hand.
And so was I. There are two people in the public here. And why can't I talk to another selectman? Does everything have to go through you?
No, but when you
I
go
was
outside...
talking to selectmen after the meeting.
No, you were not talking.
Yes, I was.
That was an exaggeration, and that is not the truth. You were not talking.
This is an attack.
No, it's
You
not
shouldn't be
attack.
attacking the public.
I'm not
Just the
attacking the
facts.
public. It's just asking,
Just the facts.
asking for an apology from one town official to two others. They're willing to go on, I was willing to go on, and you brought it up again, so I'll give you the option now to go on or to continue talking about it. If you would like to talk about this conservation land, feel free.
All I wanted to convey about the conservation land is that this is something the commission has wanted. They've discussed it during open meeting, it's consensus, they're just taking a formal vote. So there's no question of really where they're going, because they have mentioned this during the meetings, that this is something they want. This has been years in the works.
So you're speaking on behalf of the Conservation Commission?
I'm speaking as, I actually worked with them. Actually, this land was offered to the Conservation Trust, and we have directed Mr. Peter Wall to donate it to the town, so it'd be under common ownership and common control of Oak Hill,
Okay.
under the Conservation Commission.
Right.
So it was our choice first, but we thought it was best that the town owned it all completely.
Okay, appreciate that. I appreciate that clarification, because a lot of people don't understand. Thank you. Okay.
I just wanted to also add that I do understand that this has been years in the works, and I'm very pleased that there's going to be a little bit more attached to Oak Hill. I think it's a great addition. Thank you for your work. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8C, to approve the acquisition by the Conservation Commission for open space purposes from PW Realty Trust, Lot 1 and Lot A, shown on the plan entitled Land in Littleton, Mass., surveyed for K&F Realty Trust, dated December 1971, by Charles A. Perkins Company, Inc., Civil Engineers and Surveyors, and recorded with the Middlesex South District Registry of Deeds as Plan Number 78 of 1972, Book 12148, page 272.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Ahead of schedule.
Jump
Are
to
there-
the end.
Yeah, I think there's some people who may want to be here for the cap plans, so let's go to meeting minutes. That's always something easy to throw up.
We can go to collective bargaining, Mr. Chair, if you'd like.
Oh, sure. Could do that.
That's an easy one.
Is it?
Yep, 6A.
6A.
Okay.
This
All right.
is the 3-year agreement, which was first approved by this board back in August. An agreement was reached on July 31st with the Highway Union. We brought it to special town meeting in November. It was funded by the voters, and one of the provisions of our agreement reached in July was that we would again have a single codified document rather than a series of memoranda. We'd have a single codified document which would incorporate all the changes to the collective bargaining agreement. We've met with the union over the last month or so. Our new labor counsel, Darren Klein, has had done the editing, and we have now the union signatures on the contract, and so we bring it to the selectmen for a vote. We've already done all the policy stuff. This is just, we hope, just the ministerial act of having that codified document all together.
And having sit on those collective bargaining teams, to have a single codified document is huge. It's such a pain, and, you know, this town has been, it's had to go almost 4 contracts, Jim? Before we had a single document, 4 contracts, that's 12 years without having a single document, so, huge. And this is the last piece of the puzzle. All the other unions are in the same shape, so it's really good.
Yeah, all 4 unions
Yes.
have codified contracts.
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to execute a consolidated collective bargaining agreement, CBA, with AFSCME Council 93 Local 1703 Littleton Highway, which contains all the provisions of the 2010 through 2012 CBA as modified by the July 31, 2013 Memorandum of Agreement. Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Rich Meadows is coming along.
It's up to policy, Mr. Chair.
What's that?
Staff, do you have your candidate coming?
I just, yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's, you can do that in 5 minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Complete
The
streets.
board, yeah, no, I think someone's showing up for that, so
Yeah.
if the board is, the board's pleasure, we'll review the staffing vacancy review.
What number is it?
This is 6C.
Yeah, 6C, yeah.
Oh,
Here's our motion. We're going to do them both together.
First one is Tim Schaefer, Patrolman Tim Schaefer is actually going over to the town of Harvard, so we're going to have a vacancy on the patrol staff. Our request is to refill that slot. It's obviously, it's one of the 16 patrol officers, and it's in the budget. It's, has a small savings, however, most of that will get eaten up by backfilling and undercover shifts on the 3 to 11 shift to keep that shift stacked. And so I'd ask your request. The only difference on the request is we do have an active list from 6 months ago when Doug Landry was hired. This person we're looking at was number 2 on that list. It was literally a coin flip between the two of them. So we'd like to go back to that list and utilize it. The individual is still interested in coming to Littleton. He's a local person, not from Littleton, however, within the area. So we would like to reuse that list to bring that person on board, if possible.
Pretty much take number 2 on a point, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, the individual will be coming in before the board for an interview before, anything is done. We're just asking their permission to fill the slot and to take it off that old list.
Yeah, no, I think we discussed something similar to that.
Yeah.
The sergeants.
Yeah,
The sergeants,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so.
And number 2, we're losing a communications officer. Dan Concession actually was contacted unfortunately by a headhunter and was scoffed off our desk. Obviously, the desk personnel are tough. This was kind of an unexpected loss, to be quite honest with you. We are also in jeopardy of losing another one of our dispatch personnel to the town of Groton. Even with the salary readjustments and everything else, some of the Board of Town Stewards still are paying $2 or $3 more an hour to employees. And as the job market gets better, it sometimes is tougher to hold employees in spots like this. So obviously we need to fill the dispatch slot. Jen Parent, who you appointed, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, to a part-time slot, wishes to come on full-time. She is dedicated to working in Littleton, wants to actually work her way up through and become a patrol officer. In the end, she has a couple-year timetable in mind, which probably does work out fairly well for us. So I'd ask that Jen Parent be appointed to fill the slot for the departing Dan Concession.
Where's Dan going?
He is actually going back to government. He was, again, contacted by a headhunter, and unfortunately, it's probably double the amount of money that we're paying. So it's,
Fortunate
pretty,
for him.
Fortunate for him, unfortunate for us
Right.
at this point. But, and again, we work within the constraints of the contract and what the town can offer. And, you have your core group. We've always had our core group of 2 or 3 that are, long-term employees, and it seems like we're always kind of chasing those too. I am going to sit down with the fire chief in the near future here and go over, talking about, trying to work with some area towns about combined dispatch, something that was floated once before.
Speak of the devil.
And try and get that done.
Would you like to explain why you're late?
Yeah, we're early, you're not late.
Oh, no, she knows. I told her 7:45, she's actually early.
I know, but it's always, It's all right, no.
So we did go through a full study and everything else, but I don't happen, being the one who's kind of the budgeter of the control center, I don't actually agree with the numbers that the group came up with. So we're gonna try and reconvene and see what we can do about working on that, because I think that enlarging the control center with, double the staff and in some area towns will actually appeal to a broader base and keep some people in there. One person in there can be challenging. It's a challenging environment for people, so, and sometimes that scares people off too. Once they get in there and trained up, they kind of, oh, I'm the sole source of, so. And with that, Jen, you're on. I think you all remember.
Yeah, I know, we just tried a couple weeks ago,
so.
Yeah, I think hey,
Nice to
go,
see you all
yeah.
again.
Thank you.
To go
Likewise.
from,
A little quicker turnaround than we imagined, but
yeah,
it's okay.
congratulations,
Thank you.
everything's been well? Does the board have anything?
No, this was just,
You were just here.
talked to you.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
I try.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to grant the police chief's request under the staffing vacancy review policy to fill 1 full-time benefited patrol officer vacancy, and move that the Board of Selectmen vote to grant the police chief's request under the staffing vacancy review policy to fill 1 full-time benefited dispatcher/communications officer position, and to further appoint Jennifer Parent of Leominster to said position.
Second?
2 motions have been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard full-time.
Thank you.
You see my shirt?
I've been
We're state
coughing all
champions.
night. I've been coughing all night. Go ahead. That's all right.
I'll stay away from you then.
Yeah.
I just got over it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Congratulations
Thank you
again.
very much.
Thank you.
I'll forget now, next person. All right, great. Yep, let's move on to, no, it's 7:45 now, we can go right to the cap plan. So, what's it?
Do we need Bonnie?
We don't have Bonnie,
We don't have Bonnie
No,
tonight.
but is anyone going to give a presentation? I think this is for us to, obviously, to review the cap plan, come up with some ideas, and give some direction, as we did last time, to the FinCom. We gave some direction as far as how we felt about the main budget, and now we're just going to do the same
You
thing
went
for
over
the
this with Bonnie.
cap plan.
I did.
You want to walk us through it?
Walk us through it,
You wanna-
please.
Certainly could.
You want to, I'll give you the keys.
It's a high-powered, big technology here.
Yeah.
Pinch hitting for
Pinch
Bonnie
hitting.
is Steve.
Bonnie put this together last week. You all have the details, I believe, you all have the detailed
Yeah.
spreadsheets that she has done.
No, it was the arrow. That was the shut off, yeah. Right arrow, left arrow. There you go. Don't ever press the red button.
Okay. Pressure now.
The room bursts into flames.
You have to excuse me because I'm just reading this now, so this is,
Well, you don't have to follow it. If you want, if
I
this,
know.
is just, if you want to go through the highlights of this.
2015, the capital plan, we have 1.18 million in available dollars for this year, according to what she's put together so far. You can see the breakdown. The financial policy that we have for debt, we all know what it is with debt service rolling off. It doesn't go back into the operating budget. It stays for one-time purposes, capital and so forth. Debt exclusions, that's mentioned also in the policy for major construction projects and so forth. We've tried recently with some of the issues that we've done as debt exclusions to pay for them as much as possible inside the debt limit. We did that with the track. We've done with that with the Russell Street short-term debt service that we had. We paid that off all inside the debt, inside the 2.5 limit. So that's, even though we have the vote to do it, we have the flexibility to pay for it inside. When we go on and we talk about the fire station in a little while, you can see that Bonnie has some ideas about that also.
And just to clarify, inside the levy means you don't get an increase in your tax bill. It's all done within that 2.5% that we increase you every year, unfortunately.
Yes.
And may I ask, I see here it says, per existing fiscal policy, these funds cannot be used on the departmental or department operating budgets, meaning that if we said, you know what, we're not going to buy anything this year, we can't apply the 1.18 million to offset what it costs to run the town.
True. So
Can't
the
use
Finance
one-
Committee,
Yep.
Finance Committee last year established, and the voters also, established the Capital Stabilization Fund.
Okay.
So money that's designated to go to capital, if it's unspent, can be put aside for future capital purposes or future one-time expenditures. Problem with putting into the operating budget
Yeah.
is the operating budget compounds. So it mostly goes in for salaries and things like that. So there's always a compounding expense there. So you have these one-time funds,
Yeah.
but all of a sudden, you have this revenue here, but the expenditures go up and this revenue is always stable. So that's-
One-time funds can't be used for recurring costs.
That's exactly
That's the
what.
policy.
That's the easiest way,
Yes.
yeah.
That's the reason why, and we consider the fund balances to be one-time funds because fund balances can change from one year to the next.
Okay.
And therefore, they're not reliable.
So that the piece of the operating budget for debt service, that's been static all those years.
Right.
It rolls off and comes down, so there's a piece that becomes available each year, but those dollars have been static. So to put them into an operating budget
Okay.
that compounds just gets us into trouble,
Okay.
basically.
Thank you.
3 million total, and
So
we have
According to
1.1 in available funds and 3 million.
3 million in total. So the detailed spreadsheet that Bonnie provided you shows $3 million in requests for the different departments for this year.
And that's the mission budget?
No,
That's totally
no,
separate?
This is separate, yeah,
Okay,
this
I
would be
gotcha.
the capital
All right.
plan. It's this detailed list, which will just go over a summary, but just sort of dive into it. One of the things that I know
It's a lot
Bonnie
of
had
stuff.
wanted to do in this presentation was to at least raise the issue that there are certain major facility requests that we're going to, at some point in the next month or so, going to require some policy direction on. And those include fire station design, sewer design, which was requested by the sewer study committee, and two other major projects which under our policy are considered as such. Council on Aging kitchen improvements of $140,000 and some high school roof repairs. So those four projects will, if under the policies that we just looked at, would ordinarily qualify arguably for debt exclusions. That certainly the first two major ones we talked about at the special town meeting. And so we're going to need a signal from the board at some point of which of these, we haven't discussed any of them, really. And the matter is, which ones do you bring to town meeting in May of 2014, and which don't you, for whatever reason? So those are some of the major projects to talk about. The rest of the projects, I don't want to say that they're not routine, but that we're more used to seeing the equipment requests and
Univents.
building and things, but these were sort of some of
Univents.
over and above.
iPad.
So once these four projects here that Bonnie itemized can be decided and discussed, the rest of the list can take shape. But these are the main things, so, $140,000 for the COA kitchen, that's taking a big chunk of those dollars away. So if that's a priority of the board, then Bonnie can shape the rest of the dollars. Same thing with the
Yeah.
fire station and the sewer.
I can recollect some discussion and some votes on the COA kitchen, and I thought we approved that previously.
We had a $35,000 project.
Is that all it was?
That was approved a couple of years ago, maybe.
Well, not for the door.
No, it
It was
was
for some-
supposedly for a fix for the kitchen.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be not nearly enough.
Oh,
But
okay.
that
So that's what,
$35,000 project is now up to $140,000.
so it hasn't even gone to design or to bid or anything yet? Okay, all right. Now,
No, the
But
P-
that-
kinda
that's
makes
a-
sense.
yeah, the PMBC had
That's a
been
bigger
dealing
picture,
with
too.
that,
Yeah.
the PMBC,
Yeah, I get
the
it,
Permanent Municipal Building Committee, has been dealing with that as
Yep,
one of their
okay.
projects, but saw that in order to address some code issues and some other things, that the price tag was going up.
I just remember the vote, I don't remember, I remember it for the COA, that's all. I didn't remember the amount.
I think they were looking at a different sort of fix, and more issues have come up with respect to code compliance and
Yeah, I
stuff.
think that's what they just said, yeah.
The
It's
COA
interesting.
kitchen, not to zero in on that the whole time, but that's part of a bigger
Yeah,
planning
yeah,
side. What
yeah.
happens with the library, what happens with COA, space in this building, space other places. Do you spend that money for, something that may disappear in a couple of years to go somewhere else?
So there's 1.18 million available. There's 3.0 requested. But these items here, fire station, sewer, COA, and high school roof, those numbers clearly are much larger than the 3 million. So these are additional to the 3 million, sort of
No.
regular
No, the-
requested
the
things?
The 3 million includes 600, to my understanding, includes 600,000 for the fire station design. And the 550, the sewer design. It does not include fire station construction.
Right.
Okay.
Which would not be in 2015, it would be in a future year.
I see.
So that,
Okay.
so again, as we just said, we'll be looking for a decision on what to bring to town meeting. in May.
I have one question here. Soon to be police chief is here, but in the capital requests, you have the police department, $6,000 for cruiser maintenance and tires. Why is that in the capital program and not in a regular budget item?
Did you jump ahead?
Yeah, we're on this summary slide defines what things are in the capital request that you'll now see on a department-by-department basis. But
She goes to each department.
Oh, right,
So,
right, so he was just a
yeah.
couple slides ahead, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, right,
Because
so we
it's one
can.
of the things that's in there.
Yeah, yeah. So, do we want to go with that?
Sure,
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Next slide, we're now at the police.
Okay.
Here we
Yeah.
go.
The question was, why is the tires in capital and not?
The amount is $6,000 and it's for cruiser maintenance and tires.
Correct.
Shouldn't
All
that be part of
tires.
your regular budget?
It actually was added 3 years ago over here to the capital plan because it was tires. And the FinCom has discussed putting it in the regular budget, but as of yet, we have not received direction to put that over in our regular cruiser maintenance budget at this time. It was added about 3 years ago for, because it's strictly used for tires, actually. It just gets us through the year in tires.
Well, was there any justification why the tires were different from the rest of the maintenance? I mean, it all falls in the cruiser maintenance, but there's, I mean,
I followed direction as to where to put it, and I was told 3 years ago by the FinCom and.
Sounds like a
the
policy
assistant town
question for us
administrator.
to.
It was kind of a little bit of a policy decision at the time.
Yeah.
Because the tire, basically the tire bill was killing the $13,000 cruiser maintenance budget. And at the time, so that they then put it over into capital. And at this time, there have been discussions to put it back over into the general budget, but we've received no direction to make that change at this point.
so that's something that we should discuss, whether or not we want to provide direction to change that or support it.
Presumably, if it's a recurring expense, you're going to need this amount of money each year.
Correct.
That since we're now doing level service budgets, or, I'm sorry, not level service, but level staffing, that you'd want the $6,000 in your budget with the understanding that it's part of your level staffing baseline.
But, I mean, to talk about cap plan now,
Yeah.
cap plan is for non-recurring items. So I think, is that the point you're talking about? Is it, if it's a recurring item?
Well, you've got a lot of recurring items in the capital plan, just because that's where we put them as a matter of policy.
Right.
All the vehicles, police vehicles we purchase every year, and they are always in the capital plan.
Vehicles,
That-
buildings, and that sort of thing are usually, are considered a capital expense.
Yeah.
And the amount is up, because isn't there somewhere,
It's usually
there
for
is
$10,000.
$10,000 number, so it just seems to make sense that, that this goes back into the regular budget and we increase that budget by this amount.
Yeah, no, I agree, 'cause cap is for something you use one year after other, like a car. That would be a capital because you use it more than once, where tires are recurring every year because you use them up. All right. Anything else? Anybody else have anything to jump out at them?
One of the things that's different in the police requests here is previously we were leasing vehicles, now we're purchasing the vehicles. This is the second year we're purchasing?
This is the first year. Last year, we actually didn't purchase any vehicles. We went back a year to pay off all the leases to get on level ground, so it kind of put us a little bit behind. But I was directed to try and get to purchasing vehicles rather than a lease. Again, I guess as a matter of policy to try and just pay cash for them. We're bringing the existing fleet down, you'll see in the marked cars, replacing 2 marked vehicles. We're gonna actually bring the fully marked fleet that runs on a year-to-year basis down to 4 cars from 5. We're gonna replace them every 2 years though, to keep them under warranty. We can get rid of them every 2 years. We'll keep 2 as backup. Currently, we keep 1. The fleet really doesn't change. It's still at 6 vehicles, other than we'll always turn over those 2 new vehicles while they stay under warranty. The 2 backup cars are strictly when cars go down, which unfortunately they do. We have some backup currently. We have the 1 backup. We save the best that we're getting rid of, keep those as backups. That's why the 2. And then the Toyota 4Runner actually was the original Chief's vehicle, and that was actually a leased vehicle, sorry, it was a used vehicle when the town actually purchased it. It does have some fairly expensive issues going on with it, and that's why that's up there for replacement also. You can smooth out those numbers if, should say, the $140,000 roughly for cars, we get cut about in half if we went to leasing. However, again, over a 2-year period, 77, I need 2 more next year, so it does even out. It makes it smaller, but it does extend it over a 2-year period.
I had a discussion with Bonnie about the leasing, purchasing thing too. And she convinced, I was a lease guy, you know, to able to turn them over continually, but she pretty much convinced me that the purchase is the way to go, so I
And
feel
originally this
confident.
year, we would have been asking for 4 vehicles. I came up with this new plan, mainly to keep the cars. Police cruisers can't get the same warranty that a personal owned vehicle does. I can get rid of them every 2 years, even with losing a car in the marked fleet per se. It still would give me enough room to keep it under the warranty, which helps my cruiser, it takes the pressure off the cruiser maintenance budget, which again, with the cars, right now, we did a rebuild of 1 car 2 years ago, and I found out after doing that rebuild just how the Dodgers really are. We put $15,000 into that car, and they're still not happy with what we got, and we realized what the equipment really, what it really does to it in 2 years, having gone through the car, stem to stern. And the public safety radio maintenance contract is for both police, fire. It's the maintenance contract for all the radio systems to do with the public safety. And that's even including the new equipment, which will be the microwave towers and everything else that's going in. And I was told to include that, so.
So if we are now purchasing vehicles instead of leasing them, does this mean that we will no longer have sponsorship on the vehicles?
That is correct.
That would be
Um,
nice. No more moving advertisements.
No
while-
more, no more of that. Again, you know, we're trying this 4-car marked fleet plan. I think it'll work. I'm really looking forward to actually, we're gonna stick with the Interceptor SUVs. I think they're better for Littleton, better for New England. They get through the snow better. They handle quite well, and they're, you know, they present a good public safety vehicle, so we're gonna stick with those. There's really no cost difference between them and the sedan. So we feel that's the way to go at this point. And the administrative vehicle actually is also, it's just an administrative version of the same thing, the police interceptor.
So just a general question, either Steve or Keith. So how many leases does that leave remaining as part of the capital program?
None.
With us?
No, but altogether?
They're the only vehicle.
Yeah, we only have police.
This police.
This leases.
Well, as long as you're here and talking about budget, what is the admin vehicle used for?
It's the detectives, chiefs. That'll probably, to be quite honest with you, the admin vehicle will probably go to the new chief, and the current Explorer will go down to replace the Toyota 4Runner.
So 40, what do you get for $40,000 for an admin vehicle?
It's a fully marked vehicle. You know,
But I mean, is it a sedan or a?
No, it's the SUV. It's the same exact vehicle, other than it has cloth seats and carpets in it.
So we'll have 4 cruisers and how many SUVs? Is that what you're saying here? You're gonna have 4 cruisers?
Right, but they're SUV cruisers.
They're SUV cruisers. So the whole fleet will consist of 4 marked cars, 2 standbys, which we currently have.
Yeah, right,
We
right,
currently have
right.
6 in the marked fleet.
Yeah.
And then there's currently 4 unmarked vehicles, which is the detectives, the deputy chief, and the chief's vehicle.
And those were all the SUVs?
Well, there's one older Crown Vic that was originally mine,
Yeah.
that gets handed
Yeah.
over to the detectives.
We should
That's
keep
still in
that.
service, so that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's not going anywhere at this point. It was bought for me, so it only has 50,000 miles on it, 8 years old.
Yeah.
The expedition will go to whoever is appointed second in command of the department, and the new vehicle will, it's just a trickle down.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Do we want to start talking about our priorities, direction?
Well, I think we should go finish the slideshow and listen to the fire, and then I think we can go through the entire list. That's what I'd recommend. And highway,
Okay. I don't know, that's not what was planned, but if that's what the board, I don't think so. I thought we were just gonna sit, I thought we were just gonna go through them.
I thought we were just
We're
gonna look at it
Yeah.
and then
if you have questions.
Yeah, you can go.
tell you you can't have what you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not
Negotiate.
expecting votes tonight. This is your first run-through.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
make sure that we get through it all,
Yeah.
so that
Yep.
we can schedule follow-up discussions in greater detail.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions you have?
I think we just had one question and that kind of spiraled, so, yeah. All right. Go ahead,
They're all
Steve.
warmed up
The-
for the
the
fire department.
Fire equipment, $187,000 worth of capital for the fire department. There's a couple of vehicles involved there, and radio upgrades.
Plus the fire station,
Plus the $6 million fire station.
just the design issue.
And the next slide is
Okay.
some more of the,
Can we ask the chief? I guess.
Yeah, yeah, there he is.
Chief,
There he is.
so, the UHF radio upgrade project, is this I mean,
Is that grant?
talk so much about radios, I'm kind of getting confused as to, I know the microwave piece was voted on this special town meeting approved and you're moving forward. But I thought previously there was a upgrade for your UHF also, and that, is this just a continuation of that?
This is the second part. It was a
Okay.
two-part phase-in. The initial portion that was voted on last year basically built the infrastructure, and it's actually being installed now. All new base stations, all of the, basically the infrastructure portion. This final portion will replace all of the portables, mobile radios, and pagers. That will be it. The microwave
Right.
had nothing
I
to
get-
do
I get
with either portion of the UHF radio system. That was a failure of the existing system that needed to be replaced and brought back up to speed.
So with, Deputy King was talking about a centralized dispatch center,
Yeah.
and as we roll, or if the possibility that gets rolled out, other towns capable of communicating with your department with this new equipment, or are we above them, or where are we now and where will we be once this is done?
Majority of the towns around have UHF and are currently operating on UHF, so this actually brings us up to speed.
Okay.
This brings us up to the digital age and definitely improves the interoperability throughout the surrounding towns. And as well as, jumping onto the microwave, that's just an extra bonus.
So as far as communication in Littleton Fire Department, we're behind.
Yeah, just a bit.
Okay.
We don't have any, there weren't any repeaters with our system. There were dead spots in town. We couldn't, you could be a quarter of a mile away and not hear a portable or hear one from one truck to the other truck. We'd have to go through dispatch, when I should be able to be sitting in Boston and listen to this radio loud and clear.
Okay.
So that's a significant issue.
Okay, thank you.
And that's what will happen with UHF when it's
Yes.
fully installed?
Yep.
What do you work on now?
Carrier pigeons.
Right now, it's-
Megaphones?
Right
That's
now,
it?
it's on the VHF, so it's a lower band.
Is this 800 megahertz? Is it?
No,
No?
that's its own band. There's VHF, UHF, 800,
Okay,
900. There's not too many that are on the 800 except for the state police and I think like Cambridge.
The people's republic. Yeah. Well, as long as you're here, again, this is similar to the police tires. We have an annual cost to replace turnout protective gear? Is that what it is?
Correct.
Yeah.
And the reason that it was put into capital is so that it's solely for turnout gear. If it's put into your annual budget, and all of a sudden, something else happens, it's just another budget item, it can actually be pulled from that and used for something else. The way Bonnie said it, by putting it into capital, it is strictly for fire gear. We have 30-some odd sets of turnout gear, and it's easy to fall behind. They're only good for 10 years, and, with some have more significant use than others, and then all of a sudden you get, to that end of the 10-year
Right, no.
life cycle, and, hey, everything needs to be replaced. We're gonna go into a yearly rotation and, continuously just replace it all.
I guess what I'm seeing is we have limited cap plan, and there's a portion of it getting eaten up by annual recurring expenses. It seems to be
It did.
almost counterproductive to having a cap plan.
Years ago, and the chief touched on this
Yeah.
years ago, and I can go back to my FinCom days, is a lot of these items were in the operating budgets
Yeah.
of the different departments, and just as the chief said, not every year were those items spent on what they were
Right.
intended
No, I
to be
get that.
spent on. And then all of a sudden, they're short in their budgets because now they've spent on something else, which now becomes part of their budget, and now they need extra funds. So
I
they're
understand
pulled
that,
out
but I
of the
mean,
budgets. They're pulled out of the budgets.
Right, but
But
putting
if we-
it
into
in a
capital
capital
plans.
project, the money can only be spent on.
But do you see my point, where we have limited capital funds, and we put those capital funds aside every year so that we can buy things, big things that we need to purchase. So if we're gonna start eating that or chipping away with all these things that are recurring costs, we're gonna have no money left, and it's gonna be just like in the regular budget. We're not gonna, it's gonna eat up our cap plan. It's not anything to do with you. It's just two examples that we've seen tonight, that it seems to be, we're dedicating chunks of the capital budget that, in my philosophy, is supposed to be for one-time purchases, and we're using it for continuous purposes. I understand it gets thrown in your budget, and if it's in your general budget, it could get used for something else. Well, that's your job, though, or that's the job of that department head, to manage that budget and make sure the money's used where it was intended.
Well, one of
Things
the
come up,
things-
I guess, but
If
I'm
we
not in your
can-
seat, so I don't know.
Take the small bite out of the apple every year, or, take the larger $96,000 or $100,000 one-time chunk. You just take a small chunk out of it and have a constant rotation. That way, all of the gear doesn't go
I get
bad
it,
at
I get
once.
that. It's just counterintuitive to what I feel the cap plan is for, and if we keep putting these small bites into the cap plan, we're gonna not have a cap plan
And I
anymore.
can tell you, Ted, like I said, that's the way it used to be done.
Yeah.
But year after year after year, those things kind of tend to disappear, and they work their way into something else in your
Well,
budget.
that's where the department head has to be held accountable, or,
And in
held-
5 years, you're gonna remember that we put so much dollars into his budget for this turnout gear.
No, but
There's gonna
that's-
be a different board here.
And it's, right, but it's not just,
And that's where
and
over
it's
time.
not just
with
him.
different
I'm saying, I hate to
boards,
use him as an
It's a
example.
danger.
I
and
can
I
put
don't
it
want-
into my budget and nobody else would know. and
I know, but
then
you see the other
increase it
danger, you just
somehow.
acknowledge it, you see my danger, that we're gonna eat, we're gonna keep eating away at this cap plan, there's gonna be nothing
Well,
left in
I
it.
think an issue's been raised which would get resolved by a conversation with the finance committee.
Absolutely.
Because,
Yeah.
there's a method to the existing procedure, and if we want to shift to
Right,
something
yeah.
else, we want to make sure that we all understand what.
And if that's the way we,
rules are.
if we all come to agreement that that's the best way to go, that's fine, I just wanted to point out what I'm starting to see.
A solution to this could be to find out how much out of all these capital items seem to be recurring.
Yeah.
And pay it out of maybe the capital stabilization fund
Or-
that's there. So we're putting some money specifically in the budget for that.
Yeah, or create a.
But it's not going
Yeah,
into
right,
the
I see what
fire
you're saying,
department.
yeah, well, then you're all gonna be fighting, he's fighting for turnout gear and he's fighting for tires. There's probably no perfect method.
Fighting for it right now.
You know.
Fighting for it right now,
Yeah,
what's the
yeah.
difference?
Yeah, so,
Mr. Chairman.
yeah.
A lot of towns, yes, I see this in a lot of towns in the same discussion. Turnout gear, like the chief is talking about, starts somewhere around $2,000 per member. So you're not getting the certain number of members done in every year. But what happens is if it's pushed out, NFPA states that the gear, the chief alluded to this, is not usable after 10 years. and the capital expense at that point becomes huge.
Oh, and I get it, and that's what Steve said, and I think that's what the chief said also. I get it, this is not about turnout gear. This is about philosophy, and I just wanted to raise the issue.
I would
Yeah.
suggest that maybe we can look at it as it's a capital item that's being taken one bite at a time.
Yeah, that's, yeah, the whole cap budget, yeah. So, all right. You want new Carhartts?
What,
You need to.
I think part of the issue is, because our budget's been level funded for so many years, that your internal costs keep going up, so you can't afford the items that you really need, you know, like we're picking on them for turnout gear. And I think that's what's happened, you say, what am I gonna do? And they're like, oh, we'll just buy it this way instead, and they keep your budget level, and that's how it morphed into capital.
Yeah, I think level staffing killed too. That was tough, you know. Low funding, low staffing, that all takes by the budget. Okay. All right. Steve?
Thanks, chief.
Thanks.
Highway.
And the next contestant. Price is right.
And $217,000 for highway equipment.
So I have one question, Mr. Chair, for
Yes.
Jim. The mini sidewalk paver. I thought we addressed that already. Didn't we address a sidewalk paver or a sidewalk?
You want to institute a sidewalk program.
I thought we went with the paver and we all said, oh, now we can fix the sidewalks, no?
Or you approved me to buy an asphalt hot box.
Okay.
This is prioritized, this is what Bonnie said, this is all prioritized, you got your major, you got your,
Yeah, mine starts at the top.
yeah. I guess, yeah, one other thing I'd like to, we might want to ask from the department, what is, I mean, maybe they'll say it all, I mean, what's mission critical on this, you know? Where's the line drawn that you can't operate anymore? Not necessarily just Jimmy, but anyway. Okay.
After the infield rumor, it's,
That's right where I drew it, wow. All right.
I mean, you have to give us new technology at some point.
Regarding the mowers and the,
Like, you know, things are changing in the industry and,
no, but I meant on this list when you said.
I know, but I mean, eventually, if you keep having us rebuild our old trucks
Yeah.
and old equipment, you know, you have to,
Sooner or later, you won't be able to rebuild it.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
you want us to do more, and that's why they make equipment to make your life easier.
So how many, we've been through all your dump trucks too, right?
And we've been through 4 of the 6.
And they look fantastic when they come back.
They
Have you
do.
seen them?
They do.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
do.
you've been managing those trucks very well, I think with the maintenance and
Well, that's what I said.
repairs, yeah.
If you want them to go another 10 years, so
20.
Comes a time.
it'll be someone else's problem, so they're gonna have really old trucks.
Yeah. What are you saying, someone else's problem, mine or yours? It's not my problem
10 years from
anymore?
now, it's gonna be someone else's.
Not Jim's? All right.
Excuse me. That's the danger with, that's the danger with moving something on this list. So we have so much in capital requests, only so much in purchases. What doesn't get funded gets pushed into the next year. So there's already
Oh, we've seen all this
$2
stuff a couple years, yeah.
million, I think, for next year set aside. So whenever, you know.
Decisions
so it's a
have to be
$3 million.
made, Mr.
That goes to
Venuti.
$3 million next
Decisions
year.
have to be made.
I agree.
All right. So there's no one here from schools, I don't know if we, so,
$780,000 for the school department. We saw the roof on that first slide for
100, wasn't it?
$104,000 or so it was.
So where are we at on the mandatory things? Like, I know, like the iPad and the Univents, right? Those are mandatory,
The
right?
iPads are leases, and yes, this is the final payment, and
Yeah.
we have the Univent program that we've been doing.
Oh, that's
for the
final
past
payment?
4 or
Nice.
5 years.
At least, yeah. So those are dedicated, those have already been voted on, so we gotta do those.
Well,
No,
we have to,
15.
we have to fund
Yeah, this year, yeah. Okay. All right.
School.
They do have a lot of technology items, I believe.
No, and I don't think there's anyone from school here. What happened at the high school that we have things that are not ADA compliant? I mean, did this code change in that 10 years?
We'd be glad to have the school department then talk to us about it, so.
The only thing I heard that we got a waiver on was the auditorium, the ramp.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything else about being ADA compliant.
So what's the board's pleasure? Do we want to review, you want to have a joint meeting with the FinCom? Do you want to request each department to come in and request to discuss theirs? Do we want to request additional written information, things like, what is absolutely mission critical, what are mandatory payments, like?
You should tell everyone to cut down their list to Santa. Pick what you really like.
One of the overriding issues that I think Bonnie wanted
Don't
to
say
get
override.
addressed was the fire station.
Do you have something to present about that? 'Cause I know there's been some discussions going around about the fire station.
Yeah, there's one of the later slides here.
Okay.
Keep going through the school, Steve.
Okay.
This one?
That gives the options.
So Bonnie presented 3 different options for the fire station. Option 1 is inside the levy, 100% inside the levy.
No need to go any further.
That would,
Sold.
to fund the fire station inside the levy would delay the project a couple of years.
Not delay, because there's no schedule right now, right? It would just schedule it later.
It would schedule it later, yes. That's, okay. And she has put in a 7% per year increase in costs. So by the time her schedule comes to light, it's a $6.9 million station.
Is 7% realistic? Is that what we're going with right now? Is that something that's been,
I believe that's what the architect told her.
Yeah, 0.5% a month, right?
And there'll probably be another round of NFPA code updates between now and then. And that
Just
never
like-
means the price is going down.
There's lines on the plan, that's all it is.
But in any event, if you did go with option 1, it would mean that the 600,000 design request would not go to town meeting until 2 years from.
That's where I need to stop you, because I would
That's what
make,
option 1 is.
that would make a suggestion to this board, that, to take a hard look at that capital plan, and possibly take that one piece out of the capital money, the 600,000, out of the 1.1, is that what it was, 1.1? And that way there, it does 2 things for us, in my opinion. Number one, it gets that 600,000 out of that levy piece inside the levy, kind of makes it more palatable, so to speak. Number 2, it actually decreases the amount of money that's going to be necessary to be funded in the levy, and we'll be able to have a good document. The $6 million is an estimate right now, get those designs. If we do it this year, get the project out to bid and to see what the real numbers are. The negative part is 600,000 is going to come out of that 1.1 million. So, we have to take a hard look at what those, I think what you said earlier, Ted, mission critical needs. We spend a lot of money on equipment every year. I think if for 1 year, to save the people of the town, and to get a new fire station, we take the 600 out of the capital, come back with the mission-critical needs for the department, see what that comes up out of this 500,000 or 550,000, whatever the heck could, end up being. Personally, that's what I would recommend to do with the capital plan for this year. And, that way the chief moves forward, continue his PR request, public relations on educating the folks in town as to the new station, simultaneously getting the design document done, bid documents done, and get it ready to go out to bid. So in a year, 18 months, 2 years, 2016, I think it said, you're gonna have a document that's gonna, obviously escalators can be built into that document once it goes out to bid, and you're talking 6 months for a design to be done, chief? So you're already, into summer.
Well, I think one thing that we've talked about is we need to come up with direction. We need to figure out, are we ready to do the fire station now?
Right.
Or are we ready to, and I think it's something we really need to take a hard look at and, sit down with the chief and look at, what happens if we do it now, what happens if we do it then, as far as mission.
Right. I guess this is just a thought that I came up with.
Yeah.
So you're saying relieve, it's gonna hurt the capital plan for 1 year.
So you're saying do design in the cap plan?
Do it, the design in the cap plan. It's gonna hurt the cap plan for 1 year.
This year?
I'd say this year.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to
Yeah.
understand. what you're
Because 2016 is gonna be here like that.
So you're taking the $600,000 out of the 1.8?
Yes.
So you're asking all the other departments to really come back with
1.1.
Yeah.
So
That's a
$600,000.
tough
I
fight.
know, it's gonna hurt.
We have to find out what else is mission critical.
And that's why I like that idea of the mission critical, come back to us, and we all know that we ask for cap plans, everybody asks for $3 million every year for cap money. That, talk about staying stagnant, that stays stagnant all the time. So get that down to a mission critical type arrangement, well, hey, this is what we're looking at as a town. I think the fire chief has done a fantastic job educating folks as to the needs for his department. I have heard nothing but good things and desire from townspeople to get a fire station. So what this board decides and how we do that, if we can do it without going up on taxes, that's huge. That's the bottom line. And to get the design done this year, it's one step further for the chief.
Right,
So if we're talking, then, looking at this like, our guidance with everybody's gonna be what is absolutely mission critical, and it sounds like what you're saying is mission critical is to have a fire station as well.
I would say
Then
that
we-
mission critical is to start the process to see the design of that station,
Steve, can't you pay, do we have to pay 600 this year? Isn't it, that's not something you can bond out and pay over 5 years?
We don't want to do that.
No? Well, we may not want, some of us don't want to bond.
I understand that. I just don't want to see
I
any
just wanna hear about
bonds.
it.
600,000 under option 2 that Bonnie has would start the design project this town meeting. So we vote those funds now. We would borrow the 600,000 to get those design funds.
Where would that be paid? Outside or inside?
We're working on a plan to pay that inside.
So you pay off the $600,000, that is about, which comes out to be about $15 a person per year, or household per
I
year.
don't know what that,
I did the math.
okay.
But
But if it's inside,
Yeah.
it's,
the key
There's no
is
effect.
inside the levy in my eyes.
$150,000 a year for
if
5 years.
you did it the way Jim was just talking about,
Yeah.
and do it all option 1, we don't have the funds inside the levy to pay for the construction piece.
Not this
So you're
year.
doing the design now.
No, we'll
No,
never,
we
we'll
don't
never
have
have,
it.
we'll never have 6.9.
We don't have it until
Million.
Shaker Lane's,
For the construction of the
Whoa,
fire
whoa, whoa,
station.
whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa. Option 1 is May of 2016, $6.9 million. What all I'm saying is, for the design, the 600,000 be out of the cap plan this year. That's all I'm saying. Don't even move forward on the new station.
Right.
Just start the design. That's all I'm saying.
Right,
So,
well, my,
Still option
No,
1,
no,
inside the
No,
levy.
but the point is
That's
that
option 2.
the time, and even if we can come up with the strategy for covering the $600,000 cost within the levy limit, there is no strategy that we can offer that we could pay for a $6.9 million construction of a fire station. Ever, without a debt exclusion.
inside the levy.
Right.
If you look at Bonnie's memo, she has a timeline for each of those options. So option one, in Jimmy's
Entirely
case,
inside the levy limit.
right, starts that project off,
Okay.
but you have to delay it until the debt service becomes available in 2020,
Shaker
I
Lane?
think it is, when Shaker Lane comes off.
Is that what she said last week?
Yes.
I thought we were talking, okay.
So- You have a big window between design and construction, which means
But you gotta
design's going to change.
redesign. Right, so, but I think first, I think you need to, when you do a project like this, and maybe it's from being involved, you need to go, I think you need to go design and then build. I mean, I don't think, it's, so,
You
before.
can't have a big period on it.
So
Right, so I think before we do that, we have to determine, as a town, are we ready to
I agree.
build a fire station?
I agree.
And if we're
And
not,
once that conversation's had, are we ready?
How do we do it?
Option two, in my opinion, in Bonnie's opinion, would be the way to go. We can try, again, as much as we possibly can, pay it inside. But there could be some pieces of the puzzle that need to be paid outside.
well, there's definitely gonna be pieces of puzzle. Under option two, then, what gets paid inside the levy?
Can I just read
Option two.
option, can I
Wait, no,
just
wait.
read that?
After 2020, when Shaker Lane rolls off,
Oh,
there'll be enough debt service roll-off to pay for the fire station inside.
in 2020.
It's
Right.
bridging that period
Right.
between now and 2020.
Outside the levy until FY '20. And
if
then
we're
when
not-
Shaker Lane
We're not
rolls off.
bonding until
Right.
18. There's just a two-year window there where we need flexibility.
So,
That's
so
all
so
it is.
what does this statement mean, option one? Entirely inside the levy limit within the existing operating budget. Seek 600K, design funding, May 2016, 6.9 million construction, May of 2017. Let me start off again, entirely inside the levy
How does
limit.
that work? How do you pay the six?
Option one. Option one. So, I hear what you're saying, Steve, but that's not what it says. I'm reading entirely inside the levy, and my whole key here is,
She's just saying it's the goal. Financially, it can't work, because we need $700,000.
Oh,
3 funding options identified. So that tells me that they've been identified to work. I mean, it's okay, we can.
She's saying that in the detailed memo, she says that May 2020 is when the first debt service payment on the construction.
So they're
project.
contradicting is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're contradicting. And it's okay if, we want to have further discussion on that when Bonnie gets back, I'm okay with it. The key to my whole presentation and comments is everything is very simple, inside the levy. You know what? If we can do something without asking or even telling the folks in town, you're gonna go up on your taxes again. If we can do that, and from what I just read,
So inside, but
it
if you
kind of
look at
tells
the
me we
time
can't.
frame,
I get you,
the
it's 3
timeline,
years.
It's
May
off.
of 2017,
So
is
to
gonna
do
be
what
here
you
like
wanna
that.
do, we're not building a fire station
this
for a
year.
few years.
Yeah,
yeah.
I got it.
And this is
So
what we,
why
yeah,
do we need
get it.
to spend design funds this year?
right.
I guess to get a better understanding of the 6.9, is it actually 6.9? If we delay it, I'm okay with delaying it too. I thought that we would continue to keep that ball rolling, that's all I'm saying.
I think we need to keep the ball rolling as far as determining a schedule. If we can do it in May 2017, I don't know, because I remember we talked last time, at the end of the meeting, it was kind of off the cuff, that there was something coming off the rolls of the debt in like 2017, 2018. So I don't know if there's something else, if that was, that information has been updated.
2020 is Shaker Lane is coming off.
Yeah.
In 2023, the high school comes off. By
But
that
nothing
point-
comes off in 2017.
17?
2017.
I mean, there could be some
Little things.
little things coming off, but
Nothing
not enough
larger.
to pay for this.
Yeah, nothing like
So-
That something's wrong with this statement is all
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
right.
Because,
Well, we can discuss it further with Barney.
yeah, I think
But
that's.
we
a good
discussed it with
discussion.
Bonnie,
She's
too.
giving you, in option one, she's telling you that we can do it. But it has to be based on the timeline that she presented to you.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Again, I said the 600,000 for this year in the cap plan. If that doesn't work for all of us, I'm okay with that too. I know the chief wants to keep things moving. If we figure on, this is fiscal year 15 and fiscal year 16, you know, is it a year out? How long is it gonna take for design? The time frames. I mean, we designed the police department, and it took us 10 years to get it actually built, you know, and the price actually went down. So, that's the only thing I can compare it to
It
at this
went down
point.
because the design went down.
All right, well,
It went from a two-story building to a one-story
Yeah.
building.
decisions were made.
paid for design twice.
Just a minute, yeah. Well, I'll get you, Chief. I think what we should do is we should sit down with the chief, and we should try to come up with some sort of schedule. Chief,
And
so
with
it's
Bonnie.
and Bonnie,
Yeah.
and come up with some sort of schedule, because like, we want to do design then build, you don't want to, you know,
I'm okay.
And I appreciate your consistency with lower taxes, and I know it, I just don't, in my opinion, I don't think taking half of the cap plan is the way to do it.
I think that something else that has to be considered here is, you know, if we have a goal of funding something inside the levy limit, to assume that we're going to be able to continue to retire debt and not have other meaningful capital projects that are going to require, you know, they're going to require use of those funds too.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure it's reasonable to say, okay, we're going to hold everything and we'll do this down the road, but we're holding everybody else too. And I think we've just got to decide, you know, what's got to go and what isn't going to go. But to think that we're going to be able to build this project within the levy limit, and then, you know, then what are we going to do if, you know, Park and Rec wants something, or whoever else has got other capital projects coming up, they're all being pushed back beyond that point. And we're going to have a problem. So I'm sort of like what Jim is saying, we continue along with this.
Well, we got to determine the need, whether the need for the new fire station there, or when the need is there, because I don't think it's next year, and I don't think it's 2020, it's somewhere in between. And I think we need to sit down with Chief and talk about that, and with Bonnie. And Steve, I apologize, it looks like you're on the hot seat. These aren't your numbers, and we asked you to step in, and I think this is, I think we had a lot more questions than can be answered from one little handout. So, you know, appreciate your patience with us.
And as usual, fantastic job, Steve.
When we sit down, though, can we have a member of the finance committee be part of that too?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, should be here.
Because
Can we pick which one?
I say the entire committee.
To be honest, she's looked really hard at that option too. And knowing how you feel about paying as much as possible or entirely inside, option 2 gets us fairly close. 2 years of exposure.
When, say,
2.5, debt exclusion required.
so all of a sudden we need a new truck, right?
Flexibility is needed.
Right, but what you're saying is, so 2 years of exposure, sudden unexpected truck breaks down, or something like that, we need to
No,
pay
2
$5
years that we
grand.
couldn't pay the debt service based on
Oh,
today's
okay,
projects. 2 years that we could not pay the debt service.
yeah,
18 and 19. 20 we could.
I see. Okay.
And that's getting the vote this town meeting, this for the 600,000.
All right, well, let's schedule something then.
Delayed, you're delaying that back end.
So schedule discussion.
Something with-
More discussion.
For our next.
Yeah, invite the
next meeting.
FinCom,
I know
Bonnie
the
and
chief was
Chief.
prepared to have the consultant come here and
Well,
to be able to talk about the specific project if there are questions about the
I think
cost.
that's putting the cart before the horse. I think the thing we need to do is first, like I said, now, sorry to say it again, we need to find out the need, find out, you know, mission, when does this thing become a real problem? I know right now, it just seems to be something that we'd like to have, but there's gonna be a time where it's something we absolutely need to have.
That's actually what the feasibility study determined, that we paid for last February.
Yeah,
and we need it.
okay. All right, so why don't we plan that? So that's what I'd like to hear is, you know, what's the effect of not doing this each year as we move along? Or what do we gain each year? So, anybody else have any direction?
So on the mission critical component, is that to include sort of like the mission, not the mission budget, but the whole even budget, nothing new? that no new services, no new program, whatever is bought in the capital program is to keep the current status quo, if you will, as far as equipment and capabilities.
Yeah, I think, well, no, I think it's a little bit different, because we have, I see what you're saying, but I think it's a little bit different, because we only have a small pot. We don't have a defined
I
pot, so.
understand, but if we ask the department heads to come up with mission critical, if we say the mission is what you're doing now, you will not
Right.
provide anything new. You're keeping what you have going.
Right, then here's what I'd, let me tell you if this goes with what you're saying. I'd like to request from the department heads, Keith, if you can put this in there, items that, to define which items have to be paid, things like univents and things that we're on the hook for no matter what, and then things that they cannot operate without, and then maybe there's a second and third tier where, yeah, we'd really like this, and then, something that's like a dream sheet. Is that too much to ask? Is that?
I think it's, prioritize. That's what you're looking for. What are those critical things, exactly what you
These
said?
lists are, I think I read.
Yeah, the
them, they are in
prioritize, but let's
priority.
use Jimmy, like he said, basically, I think you said something similar to everything below the infield groomer is dream, kind of. So you need those first three things, I can't find them here, but there was there's a truck and an infield groomer, and then other than that would be really nice to have. But those, you really cannot keep your level of service without those other items. That's what I kind of like. Does that follow along with what you were doing, what you were thinking?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for, okay. Thank you, oh,
There's other
Oh.
pieces.
Keep coming.
of the puzzle.
Keep coming.
Putting 100,000 to update the master.
$100,000 for the
Which
master plan.
is new.
and is that dream, or is that?
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
It's 10 years old, 11
It's
years old.
responding to one of the selectmen's adopted goals.
That's correct.
Update the plan.
That's our baby.
Unfunded goal, right? We got unfunded mandates from the state, now we're given unfunded goals. We're as bad as the state.
Except for more personable.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah,
all right. Other
some
pressure?
of us.
And other issues we haven't resolved yet, library, senior center, recreation, so, on our far horizon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Steve.
Yeah, it's
Thank you,
fun.
Steve.
It's been fun.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, now we will get to item 8:15. I think, I know we went a little bit over, I think it was some good discussion there, and it was worthwhile.
Up to 8B, and Chris is here.
So I think, yeah, 6B, we can move on to quickly here. Is that 6B or 6D?
It's 6B.
Is that what it was?
Complete Streets
All right.
Policy, yeah, and Chris is here from MAPC.
Okay.
Come on up.
Come on up.
Come on up.
So this was something that was introduced at our last meeting, and we had to accept it at the first meeting, and then we would vote on it at the second meeting. And Chris from MAPC is here now to give us a quick summary of what we're thinking, what we're considering for accepting.
Sure, so I hopefully you have a copy of the policy at this
Yes,
point.
yeah.
So essentially what the policy says is that sort of the town acknowledges that what's termed as complete streets, which essentially says roads that are safe, comfortable, accessible for all users, all ages, all abilities, will be part of sort of the routine within the town of Littleton. And that Littleton will undertake efforts to sort of, for new projects, as well as looking into like existing regulations and whatnot to sort of incorporate complete streets, including part of the master plan, things like that. That's in a nutshell. I'm happy to go into more detail if that's something you'd like. The elements of the policy.
And it is our hope that there will be state funding available for communities who have adopted the complete streets policy. I happened to see that in the round of MassWorks grant that Secretary Bielecki just announced that there was some hundreds of thousands of dollars that went to, I think, to Marlboro, maybe I'm wrong, but to some community to implement their plan for complete streets. It's, I know there's legislation pending in the legislature right now, which could establish a specific fund for complete streets in Marlboro, yeah.
And will we, as a town, be able to come to you with questions and get feedback and guidance as to the best way to institute the best practices?
Yes.
I'm sure we can. We're not,
Keith has
we're
my
not,
number.
yeah, we're not shy with.
The amount that we get from them,
asking
though.
MAPC.
Hey, Jim, I'll take a glass, too.
And
please.
there are actually a network now of other communities that are going down the same path. Maynard has adopted it. I know that there are a number of communities that are looking at it. So I think there will be a network that we'll be able to rely on for assistance, practical assistance.
Great.
Okay.
All right, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adopt the complete streets policy introduced on December 2nd, 2013, drafted with assistance from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and recommended by the Planning Board and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? We kind of went right over that. Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sorry you had to wait a half an hour.
It was worth the wait.
Yeah, I'm sure you would
And
enjoy
we
it.
didn't
Thanks,
have tough questions this time.
This was nice.
Thank you
All right,
for
well,
all your
thank you
help
very
first.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out again. All right. So now we're moving on to the Church Meadows, 6D. And I think there's two motions.
Yeah, into two parts here. And the first part has to do with the town acquiring the property. The second part has to do with some particular uses that are proposed to be, continue to be allowed on the property. On the first issue, it's a little formal. It's, when the town purchases property, we often do it in the form of a friendly taking, which cures any issues of title. Not that there are any, but it's just easier as a matter of law if we take the property and offer the purchase price as the settlement amount to the current owner. So we've reached that agreement with the Congregational Church and we're authorized by town meeting as well. We're acquiring the property by taking, and the amount we're paying them is the agreed-upon purchase price of $415,000. So that is why there are some rather long motions to be offered on this part.
So the first one is just to memorialize the legalese behind doing it to keep the title clear.
Right, and this will authorize, these steps will authorize town council to proceed with the closing of the property as scheduled this Thursday.
Can we move as printed in the motion?
You can.
Really? I was getting ready to read it.
See, I was trying to save you some breath, my friend.
Okay. Move as printed on the yellow piece of paper. Can we do it that way?
You can, it will be available online later in about an hour, so.
Well, I mean, in summation, take it by eminent domain and let town council work out the details.
That's right, and the other part is a language which complies with the public bidding statute, that actually you're supposed to competitively procure even purchases of property unless they are unique. Of course, each piece of property is unique, and this is no exception. We are purchasing for agricultural use a piece of property with prime farmland soils. So we will so note in the motion.
So it's been moved to take the property at 194 Great Road for agricultural uses as printed in the agenda action request, item 6D, dated December 16, 2013. Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. So now something we wanted to talk about was for the, what we're going to be doing with this Church Meadows property, and a couple things that have been going on. I think the selectmen are pretty much aware of this, that there has been a tenant out there for the last several years, and that it would be smart for them to stay out there for one more year, because they have started ordering seeds, I believe, and materials for the following year, and then the Agricultural Commission voted that they recommended the selectmen extend their contract for 2 years. And anyone jump in when I say something wrong here. My understanding right now that there's 2 areas that are farmed, and this one that is farmed for at least for $1, and then farmed for profit by the current owners. And then there's not the current owners, but the current lessees. And then there's a second part that is farmed by, Jamie, who is it, that does and they donate the food to Loaves and Fishes?
There's 2 tenants on the property.
Okay.
It was known as the Church Garden at
Church Meadows.
Church Meadows, I always mess that up.
Okay.
And they are farming strictly to donate all food to a local food pantry, which is in Devon's. The other tenant is the Macaroots, and they have been there for a few years now, and they are farming for profit.
And they're leasing it for $1 currently, and then they get the props from the land. And then, just to clarify also, the part that goes to Loaves and Fishes, from what I understand, is also an opportunity for students to get their community hours?
Yes.
So, do you have an idea about how many students participate in that in each year, do you know?
A dozen or so, sometimes more, sometimes less.
For several hours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right,
So-
but there have been other community groups that also have gone up to the garden at Church Meadows. I know that I took my children there on behalf of the Littleton Community Farm for tomato harvest one morning.
Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, various churches in town besides the Congregational Church.
Okay. And could you introduce yourself? Sorry for the record. I'm Ted.
My
We
name is
haven't met
Deb
before.
Brosson, and I co-chair the garden at Church Meadows and have since its inception 6 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm Marlene Martino, I help her.
Co-chair. And Wendy's from
I'm
the church and the
From the
garden at
church,
Meadows
chair
as
of
well.
missions,
Okay.
and involved with the garden.
Okay, good. So, when I was thinking about this, I don't know if you guys have thought about it at all, but when I realized that we were going to come to own this property, I thought that we should send out some sort of proposals to get, ideas of what we're going to do with that. And I think if we have 2 leases right now, we may want to break that up and bring it into 2 leases. And originally, I was thinking that it would be just for 1 year. And now that I hear that somebody's farming it for $1 and taking the profit, there may be, an opportunity to get more than $1 for the land. And I think it's incumbent, and I think it's the responsibility of the town, of us, on behalf of the town, to operate this land as profitable or as getting the most income as possible. Yeah, just a second. I'm on a roll. Oh, you interrupt me. Go ahead. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. But
I'll speak on behalf of the Macarootses. They farm some of it for
Right.
profit. A good half to more than half is given to the needy as well.
Oh, okay. I wasn't. I knew that was part of it, but I heard someone else that it wasn't all. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So I think I will. I think there's basically 2 tenants out there. I think we could go for two tenants again. I don't know. I think this does need to go to somebody else to look into us a little bit more in depth. I'm not of the type to go for 2 years. If it does take 2 years, then we can look at it. But I think we should try to go at least 1 year and get some bids in next summer and find out what we're going to do. That's something. Yeah.
If it's okay, I'd like to ask Jamie the reason behind the Agricultural Commission going with the 2 years. I have a lot of same thoughts that Ted has, that why would, I guess some people wanted 3 years. I'm trying to understand why we'd do this for 3 years. The town buys the land and we allow, and I'm not speaking of the church, but the other people that are there to farm it, even if it's going for goodwill, for 3 years for $1. So I'm wondering why the time span is in there for, start at 3 years and you compromise at 2, or whatever it was.
Well, there were people asking for 3.
There were people asking for 3.
Yeah, you're right,
Put it down to 2, and I know some people actually said it should be 1. So I'm just looking for a background to this board before we form any commission or whatever to take a look at why it was done in this manner.
Well, we're talking about 7 acres there, and it's not being farmed to its full capacity at the moment. There is a back slope portion that you cannot see from Route 119 that may be of interest to livestock producers. I know we have a beginner farmer that said it would be a great location for grazing sheep or goats. And you have the middle property there where the Macaroots are farming. And then right when you enter the property, you have the church garden. So the original, at the beginning of the discussion, the Agricultural Commission was kind of half and half almost. We had some board members suggesting 1 year, and with the hopes of getting a working group moving to figure out what we can figure out for best management practices, the cost of lease, etc. And then we had other members that said, well, we're so far, for specialty crop growers, we're well into the planting season for the upcoming year. And 2 years gives them plenty of time span to look for new land because it might not work for them. So a lot of the folks in the audience at our Agricultural Commission meeting last Wednesday were suggesting 3 years, and it kind of, after the discussion went back and forth, it seemed that 2 years was kind of a middle of the road. I understand where some of you may be coming from saying, you know, thinking of a dollar lease, there's not really any properties around here that a professional farmer can lease for $1. And we're paying $415,000 for this property, and we're taking it out of CP funds that we have. I mean, we need to give back into that funding so that we can eventually maybe purchase more land for agriculture down the road. But, you know, $1, I don't believe that we should charge a community garden that donates all of the food that they produce to the local food pantry. They shouldn't be charged money for farming there to give back to the community. But if we're talking for a for-profit farmer being there, we need to make sure that we're making something off that land. It can't be a free-for-all.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing that I've been thinking about with the acquisition of this property is that now we have 2 agricultural properties owned by the town. One is the orchard, and one will now be this space. Whether we rename it something else, the term has been the garden at Church Meadows for a long time. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is now that we have 2, it probably makes policy sense for our board, with the information that the Agricultural Commission can provide us, to consider policy relative to requests for proposals for these properties for longer-term leases. It sounds to me that what the AgCom has recommended, and I was at that meeting and heard the evolution of the conversation, it seems as though that amount of time that is being suggested is both sensible to the folks who are there, but also can give us time, working with AgCom, to come up with best practices and requests for proposals, not just for this property, but for the $3 million asset we have in town, to see if the current orchardist wants to stay and can do for Littleton what land owned by the town could possibly do. I mean, how sort of beneficial can that space be? And I think that while there is certainly a lovely component to the garden at Church Meadows, which Jamie is endorsing as well, I think that we need to think policy-wise as a board and as informed by AgCom as to how do we treat town-owned agricultural land.
Well put, yeah.
I guess, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, yeah.
Robert Bigelow, Littleton Community Fund Group. You've addressed 2 of the issues that you've actually been framing around, but there's a third one. If you're going to consider this from the point of view of leases, you should consider it as 3 parcels, 3 pieces,
Yeah.
3 leases, not 2.
I think that's so. What, your
I
third
just
one
want
would
to
be the
get
grazing in the back?
on that.
Yeah, okay, that's why I understood that she was going,
And
yeah.
that's something the working group, which the Agricultural Commission did recommend we set up, would figure out. What is that land capable of? Would you have 1 farmer in there? Would you have 2? Would you have 3? Would you have 5? Who knows? So.
Okay. Jen, you had your
Just
hand
a really
first.
quick question, Jamie, and maybe Deb, you guys would know this answer. I know that the property comprises a little over 7 acres. How much do the Mufferwitzes have in production for profit at this point of that 7 acres? It's less than an acre in production for profit?
Yes.
For
For profit, yes.
So we're
They
not
have-
talking about a 7-acre parcel in 100% profit.
Right. No, that's-
production. We're talking about a very small port, like, I just want to make sure that we're all
No, I-
on board with those numbers, because that's an important thing. We're not talking about a huge 100-acre swath that they're farming 100% of it for profit.
No, I appreciate that, because I wasn't clear on that,
They
so.
utilize 2.5 acres, and an acre or less is for profit.
Is for profit. The rest of it is hunger relief.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, Don McIver. It's good mentioning the 2 types of properties, agricultural properties we have. One is large scale and, full-blown commercial production, as you see elsewhere in town and other towns. And this other parcel where this is the for-profit, it's a very small scale, where the people actually loan their equipment or make it available to garden and Church Meadows. And typically in other towns, there are different pay scales for it, or different lease scales. For example, in Carlisle, there's no large agricultural producer like the Godkill Orchard. But since it's in the goals of the town to promote agriculture, they do allow people to have farms on town land, and they charge $0, because it isn't about the money, really, it's keeping active agriculture. Just recently in Concord bought up the McGrath Farm, and they want more agriculture, because once again, it's their goals, much like you have been the goals. They charge $25 per acre. But they also will lease land to a large farmer such as Steve Verrill, and they charge much more for that. So it really isn't, you're not going to get a lot of dollars back. It's really keeping it in agriculture, and that was one of the discussions that happened at this AgCom meeting, and within the Magic Group that looks at agriculture within the 13 towns. And I should point out also that in order to bring this property to the town to make it competitive to its maximum bid, people had to raise $35,000. The church raised $25,000. Land Conservation Trust, which is not a well-to-do trust, we wrote checks for $10,000. So, yeah, we were hoping to continue this. At least 2 years gives you an opportunity to figure all this out, and AgCom has decided within a year they're going to try to look at all material from Magic and other places to see if they can come up with best policies, much in the way that Jenna has suggested.
The reason for the additional $35,000 was because the church had an offer from an outside person, larger than the town's offer. And we as a church also felt it important to put the land back to the town and be used for agricultural purposes. So people at the church and at the Conservation Trust stepped up to make that happen.
Yeah, no, and that's good, we appreciate that, and I think a lot of those things can go into the consideration, because I think, I don't know if the board wants to give any direction, but what I'm kind of seeing is there's 3 parcels, so one parcel might be for a charitable use, one parcel might be for a for-profit, and one part might be for a for-profit or for grazing, something like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm also thinking, can we report back, if we do this committee, can we report back in June and tell us, where you're at, and can we get it out for bid? I'd like to see it out for bid. I think we can do this within a year, but if we can't, it takes 2 years, that's what it is. That's my thoughts. Anything else on the board?
I think the 2 years recommendation is a critical point. I think anything less than that, we're either going to rush to judgment, the committee won't have time to work, farmers that are there will be left up in the air about what they're going to do, and this is a great piece of land, and they serve a great public function. So I'm not one that's in a rush to see the great work they're doing go away. There's a lot of very interested and participative Littleton residents who work with loaves and fishes. So it's not like that this isn't serving the community. It serves a valuable piece of what this community needs.
Well, and I think another piece of it as well is that the land takes the lead on how we're going to use it.
Exactly.
And we don't really know just yet. I mean, we know what's working so far, but not the entire parcel's not being used. And as Jamie said, there's a slope. I don't know, maybe sheep like it better than goats, so we'll have to let the sheep be there. But we don't know that until we have professional farmers assess what's there.
I think too that, at first thought, when I first looked at it, I thought, 3 years is way too long, 2 years is too long, but then I think back now on how committees work, the amount of time people have to put into it, I have no problem with 2 years.
That's what was done.
I don't have as big of a problem as going to 2 years now, realizing that it's not all for profit. I thought it was really that we were literally giving the farm away at $1, so that makes me feel better with the waiting for 2 years, so I don't have a problem with that. Just a second, let's go back to
The only comment that I have is, we have an agricultural commission that I think has studied it and made their recommendations. We have active farmers on that agricultural commission. What their recommendation, as we do with police appointments. They're the experts, they made their recommendation. I say go with their recommendation.
Let's hold them that 2 years, boy.
Thank you.
But can we get if we want status updates though, too. I like my status. Did you have something?
Well, I was just going to mention, I'm Ashley Davies from New Entry Sustainable Farming Project. We worked with the Macarootses when they first came to start farming in New England. And I just would say, I mean, I absolutely think the Ag Commission did a good job in their recommendations, but just to consider, it takes a long time to cultivate the land and bring it to a point where you're actually drawing an income from it. And on a parcel that small, you're not making much of an income as it is. So just consider that in going forward, you know, how much to charge, because most of the time when farmers have such a small plot, they're not paying for a lease, or they're paying a very small amount.
Right. No, and I think the Ag Commission can evaluate that effectively. I think it's just that it's our responsibility for the town to see if we can return any funds back to CPC. CPC, PCA.
CPA, no, CPF.
CPF.
Community Preservation Funds.
Funds.
The CPF.
All
All right,
right.
you ready? Move
Yes.
that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Section 22A of the purchase and sales agreement between the Congregational Church of Littleton, seller, and the town, buyer, for the Church Meadows property at 194 Great Road to grant permission for the seller to extend leases through November 15th, 2015, with both its current tenants, Nikki and Maxwell Macaruza, and the garden at Church Meadows. Also, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to establish a working group comprised, at least, of representatives from the Board of Selectmen, Agricultural Commission, and Conservation Commission to explore best practices, potential leases, and policies for all town-owned agricultural land.
Second.
Do we want to vote to, do we want to determine the number of members at this point? That's not in there. The representatives, number of representatives?
Nope.
Is that something we need to do? We got to do it at some point, right?
You might want to ask,
Yeah.
What, 2, 2, and 2?
How big do you want it to grow? Talk to your ad commission.
You have 5 on yours? On your
Well, is it
board?
going to be the full?
And Conservation Commission has...
looking for a couple of members from each
There's,
of
we
the
have,
three committees.
we have 7 board members.
Well, let's do 2, 2, and 2.
2, 2, and 1?
Yeah, I would say.
One is coming from which board?
We're talking
here.
about agriculture,
No,
so
one from here.
I'd rather see the
All right,
agricultural more. I mean, they're the farmers in town.
2 ag, 2 con.
No, yeah, I was saying
One of
2,
these.
no, that's what I was saying, but other people had background have been saying 2 here, 2 there,
No.
and 1 con.
I would
No.
like to suggest 3 from the AgCom, to
Okay.
make
Sure.
sure you have a,
Sure.
that's a lot of work to do.
Okay,
So,
Sure.
yeah, all right.
3, 2, 1?
Share off, yeah.
What are we
3,
saying?
2, 1.
Oh, is that what we're seeing? 3, 2, 1? Is that what we-
Sounds good, yeah.
I'd like to have 2 representatives from this board.
Where's that, is that,
Didn't you say that? 3, 2, 1?
we said
All
3, 2,
right.
1 here.
Well, 3, 2, 2, if 2 people are willing to do it from this board, which I think is going to end up being me, so. Being the new one, right? I had to do that
You just
extensive
it doesn't matter, you
recreational
just
bylaw nightmare.
Yeah, I know, yeah, so did I. I'm still reeling from that one. I still, you know. All right, so,
All right,
do
3,
we have
2,
a-
2.
I mean, 3, 2, 2?
I'll do it.
3 from Agricultural
Yeah.
Commission,
2 from con,
2 from Conservation.
yeah.
At least.
1 from here is what I was thinking, but
But
it
don't
doesn't
send
matter.
me in there alone.
Oh, come on. You know what I want to say to you.
How about an alternate?
I don't
All
care.
right,
there should
that's
be
fine, one or one with an alternate.
I don't care.
One with the alternate.
I don't. Joe?
I'm fine with that.
1 with an alternate? How's the alternate work?
Whenever I don't want to go, I call him up.
Yeah, we haven't even
How do you
appointed
know I
yet.
don't want to get involved in that?
You wear football shirts.
Oh, come on.
What's that supposed to mean?
He's gonna be wearing it in his garden
Are
this
you-
summer.
you know,
Late, we were
I
supposed
would
to start
certainly like to
this
be involved in it.
25 minutes
Yeah.
ago. I'm tired.
All right, we have 2 people volunteering for it
All right.
to go.
So 2.
So 2. All right, so can we let the,
Yeah.
so can someone amend the motion to state the number of people?
All right, so, and said, working group shall be comprised of 3 members of the Agricultural Commission, 2 members of the Conservation Commission, and 2 members of the Board of Selectmen.
Second. As amended.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstains?
Can I just confirm that does mean we are all set for the next 2 years?
Yes.
Got
And
it.
that will be written into the contract when it's signed this Thursday with the church?
Yes.
Buy your seats now.
The way we're carrying
That's
it out, we are giving permission to the church to enter into leases with the current tenants.
Right.
Which will take those tenants through November 2015.
Right.
All right.
And I know the attorneys are working on that by Thursday. Thank you.
So do we want to make a motion to appoint?
We want to make a motion to go,
Make a motion to appoint the two members? We could wrap it up in a bow?
Sure.
like on your cookies.
Yeah.
Oh, and then,
I'm looking for a motion.
oh, I make a motion that Alex and I get put on this committee, this working group. Right? Is that what you said to do?
Yes.
Alex seconded.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
We won't vote.
Aye.
Oh, no, we should abstain.
Abstain, no. All right, minutes, everyone good?
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Hey,
You're welcome.
Jamie, chip shots. Christmas party, you're invited. Jen, invited? I think we want to table the last two for an adjournment,
please.
for holiday adjournment.
Oh, you're a good man.
Let me take it back, can I get that on the record?
I said it loud. Did you hear me in the back? All right. We agreed
Okay.
to sign this. So we're done?
We'll make a, we have a minutes to review?
Here is the Conservation Commission approving the...
So should we sign that one then? So let's sign that one.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting Monday, December 2nd, 2013.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So I'm gonna, here, Jen, trash that one. That's, all right, because that's, right, do we need just one original?
Usually that's
I need all
how
those.
claim deeds are done. You don't have 2 or 3 originals.
Hey, hey.
All right, so we're
Next time.
tabling this again?
Yeah, I don't like doing it, but.
It's too late.
So prior to close of the meeting, I'd just be remiss not to congratulate head coach Mike Lynn, his staff of Tim Wickham, and Carlo Ferrante, and the other coaches also. I forgot to mention their names.
Will not give that up.
Listen,
Bookending
this is a big deal for this town and the state for what they did for Massachusetts football.
This is a once in a generation, excuse me.
So can we send them a proclamation or something?
Ooh.
I was gonna invite them down, but I'm like, what are these guys, these kids, we're gonna bring like 32 kids down here to hang with a bunch of old people. What do they wanna do with that?
There is an event.
And then me and Jenna too.
Thank you. Okay,
I got the old people
so
in
Joe
there.
and Alex, you need to sign that quick thing. All right, so we're tabling again? Table?
If we table again, which I agree with, can we set up these so that earlier in the night?
Not only earlier, but make a smaller agenda so that we can focus on these 2 items.
So it starts like at 7:30 or something?
We're piling these
Gotta put 'em on earlier.
agendas.
Or
Special meeting.
You know?
we can either do a special
There you go.
meeting, or
No.
I'm okay to come a little bit earlier.
No, I just, not come a little earlier, I mean, break with policy, just put them on, put these on earlier, and some other people are gonna have to wait.
So to answer your question about a proclamation,
I know that's one of the.
on January 5th,
Yes, we
at
already
the
talked about
auditorium.
it. It was brought up at now. You slept right through that, Liz.
Oh,
Keith talks, you sleep.
I know.
Yeah, that's what we'll do our
No,
proclamation.
that's what, all I'm looking at is the mail to make sure
But now everyone knows.
the folks that are joining us late, Sunday, January 5th at 2 p.m., the Littleton Auditorium, there will be a
Who the hell would join us
Wood
late?
Cemetery.
I was sort of tuning in
They got home
late.
late from work. Oh, I'm missing the Selectmen meeting. I gotta turn it on.
Those who just come over for Monday Night Football.
You'll be surprised.
All right, is this where you announce that we're all going to chip shots and that's where they should send the bomb
Make a
squad?
motion to adjourn.
Oh, second.
Favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Lovely evening, gentlemen.
It's not over yet, Missy.
You see, oh, do you hear that? Boy, that was a little familiar. A little familiar.